Good morning, friends. Today I've actually switched from matcha to green tea because I ran out of matcha. So now we're on to the next steps. Today I'll be having. This is a chocolatine. Which for those of you who don't know, it's a croissant with chocolate on the inside. I got these from work the other day because I worked a night shift there. And, I guess I can talk about that today since it's on my mind. And one of the things that I've noticed about working in the service industry, being a cashier, being a server of any kind, is, they have the term wage slave thrown around to anybody who's working a 9 to 5 or any kind of job. Well, if you're in the service industry, the real thing you're looking for is tips. So you're mostly a tip slave, right? So you have the salary that you get, once every 2 weeks, but the real thing that you're hunting for is good tips because that's like the most immediate gratifying thing you get at the end of your day, and it's a perpetual thing that's constantly happening, right? You have customers walking in and already you're thinking of, are these people going to tip? Are these people going to be the kinds of people that are tipping? Where are they from? What's their nationality? Because nationality actually plays a huge role into it. If they're, for instance, I work at a kind of a tourist trap place, and there's a lot of Europeans that come in, and Europeans don't tip for shit, especially Italians. If you have an Italian family coming in, there's guaranteed they will not tip no matter what, no matter how nice they may appear, no matter how big their group is. There was one Italian family, they were like 10 people, and they had like $150 worth of shit that they ordered. And they tipped $1 for like the whole thing. So not even did they not tip, but they decided, oh, I'll tip just a little bit, because this is worth $1 of service. My boss eventually pulled me aside and said, if it's over $100, just automatically tip them 10%, or charge them 10% for tip, because it's just too much. So luckily that hasn't happened again to where I'll have to do that, because I honestly don't even know how to do that in the computer. So if that were to happen again, I guess I would just tell them that they have to tip like $10 or something. But yeah, if you work in the service industry, you are a tip slave. You are constantly hunting down for tips from other people, and you find yourself looking and checking all the time to see if people are tipping. And if they tip, obviously you treat them well, and if they don't tip, then you're kind of just don't really give a shit about whatever they want. So yesterday I got like $35 worth of tips, which is actually not that much compared to what other days can get. One day I made like $50 worth of tips, which is a really good day actually. And I guess people can equate to this tip slavery as like, ooh, it's a symbol of the failure of late capitalism, and it's a symbol of man's plight for the material well-being of himself. So the thing that really, I guess I'll go into another topic as soon as I finish this one, which is mostly about money. But if we're going to talk about specifically about tips, I guess the main reason why people in the service industry are so hungry for tips, it's not even really about the actual money itself. It's just the game of getting tips, right? It's a form of gambling, right? You have a family come in, or just people, and there's a certain chance whether they'll tip or not. and that's exciting for you. You're like, all right, are they going to tip me or are they not going to tip me? It's like you're you're drawing the thing on the I'm losing my train of thought. The slot machine, right? So that's basically what it feels like. You have these people ordering food, and there's a slot machine in front of you. Are they going to tip or are they not going to tip? And if they're going to tip, how much are they going to tip? Are they just going to tip like 50 cents or are they going to tip like $5? And that's another thing that I think people don't really understand about the tip culture, is that it really turns into this game that you're playing, which is pretty much the most exciting thing, at least for me, working in the service industry, is wondering how much these people are going to tip when they come in and order food. I honestly don't really care about making drinks or cleaning the dishes or punching in the cash register. The main thing I'm thinking about is who's going to tip me, how much are they going to tip me, right? So, on the one hand, I guess you can say that gambling attitude is toxic, but if I was just getting a paid definite amount just by a week-by-week basis, and there was no tips whatsoever, let's say this is Europe, I would find that job a lot less exciting. And if you are working in any job, especially a job where you're doing menial task work, it's crucial that you find at least something that's exciting about it so you don't dread your entire life waking up every day, right? And I think that was one of the interesting things about starting the tipping process, which I guess started in America. I'm not sure when exactly, but I think it was a good idea. It makes it keeps employees on edge, right? It keeps you on edge. It keeps you wanting to serve people. It makes you nicer to people, right? And which is important if you run a restaurant or anything like that. I've been to Europe a few times. I mean, the waiters literally don't really give a shit about you. They can be as mean and as crude as they can possibly be because they know no one's going to tip them. So why should they give a shit about you, right? And that's kind of how it is. So now I can branch off now, talk a little bit more specifically about money. And because I brought it up briefly that there's this there's a lot of hatred towards what money is, what money can do. And people assume money to be a materialistic pursuit when you're chasing after money, right? Well, for one thing, it's not actually the pursuit of money, first of all, right? What money is it's the form of potential energy. When you have money, you have the potential to get something, and that's basically infinite in terms of what you can do with it. And that's sort of the beautiful thing about money, is if you have money, you have the power to do whatever you want with it. The thing that comes with materialism, or the root of all evil, as people would try to claim that money stems from, which is just a myth, it's not true at all, is that people misuse their money. They don't use it properly. They get money and they spend it on something completely useless to them, or it's just some nice piece of clothing, or they're not making enough money and they buy a nice car, or they just buy useless shit that they don't need. And yes, money doesn't buy happiness, but money has the potential to give you things that you desire, things that can push you forward to achieve a happier lifestyle, right? And people don't respect that. They don't respect the fact that money can create so many things for you and create so many opportunities, and they think it's just this method of transaction for very base needs, right? So I gotta pay my rent, I gotta pay my bills, I gotta buy food. And to me, that's a very that is the materialistic, superficial way of looking at money. But when you look at it from a deeper point of what money can do for you, for instance, you can invest your money in something in yourself. You can simply just buy books. You can invest it in a company. You can start your own company. You can do all kinds of things, and you don't even really need millions of dollars, right? You can. There's so many stories you can find online of people just starting out. I mean, I started my music label. I didn't like I had Ableton. I'm gonna be honest. I torrented it, right, when I first started. So that cost me $0. All I needed was my computer. Most people have a computer of some kind. And I would just make music on Ableton. I didn't pay for anything. Go on Bandcamp, upload shit, and then people would pay for the music. They wouldn't pay much, but it was something that started, right? You're planting seeds to develop income. And I still don't make a lot of money from it, but just the fact that I can make money from it, and with very, very minimal investment, almost zero, you can make money. And that's just the basis of what money can do, is that you can either, it's like if you have a fruit, right? You can either eat the fruit now, or you can plant it in the ground and take care of it, and hopefully it grows into an apple tree or a fruit tree in general, and then you can sell that fruit for even more, and now you have more fruit to eat, and then you're selling fruit, and then you're planting even more trees with that fruit. And that's the basis of what capitalism is, right? It's farming in a sense, and people are against that. They see that as an immoral thing, which I find a little bit bizarre. There are obviously things that can become distorted, and that you are affecting the environment when you get too big as a company, right? You can pollute the rivers and so forth. And I get that as an excessive amount of what capitalism is, right? We all need balance in our life, but there's people who say capitalism is just evil all around. All of capitalism is bad, which is it's a bit ignorant, actually, because everything, pretty much every animal, and just everything about life in general is just capitalism in its basis, right? And humans improve upon that in the humanistic way, in the same way that we make art, or we make anything really in this society. So in that sense, it's not even a real thing. It's not even a real ideology. It's just a reaction to how nature works, right? How plants work, how animals survive. And we're choosing to hate that because we were working a shitty job as a cashier, and we're 22 years old with a liberal arts degree that's basically useless, and we say, fuck the system, it ruined me. Well, yeah, that's your fault for following it and believing in it, right? And I think that's one of the main reasons why people are so attracted to socialism and all this utopia shit, is mainly because of advertising, specifically from the capitalist system, which says something like, oh yeah, this is the American dream, you can make money, you can live your life in happiness and glory, right? That's all fake, because it's advertising, we all know that, but people get that in their subconscious, and they think that this is a reality, or this can be a reality, and they keep fantasizing about this non-reality that doesn't exist, right? Where you can just sit back and not have to work your entire life and just let everything do it. And maybe that is possible in the future if you get like robots to just do everything for us. But right now, that's not the case. You have to face reality of what it is. And we can't just have a utopia. We can't just force a utopia somehow, because people's lives are literally at stake when you try to do that. I'm going off on a tangent here because this stuff really isn't important, right? It's just politics. And there's always going to be something distorted about politics because we're living in this society where people are not that smart or they're not that empathetic. Most people are really not empathetic, unfortunately, and we just have to face that reality, right? People are, I'm not going to say the word selfish, but they just don't care about other people, and we can't force them to. It's just how it is. And that's why you really just have to focus on yourself. You have to focus on your own happiness. You have to focus on creating something in this world that we live in, that we're born in. If you were born in the Soviet Union and you have no way of getting out, there's two ways to go about it. You can protest the system. You can complain and say everything is shit. And yeah, it is shit. Or you can just find a way to use that system to your benefit and hopefully change things little by little in the ways you can and live a normal, healthy life. And that was something that Mikhail Gorbachev did, or Khrushchev did in the 60s, although he's not as great an example as Mikhail Gorbachev, because Gorbachev literally came in from the bottom, worked his way up in the Politburo or whatever, and basically dismantled it bit by bit in the way they can. He was patient, he was diligent, and he did what was good. He didn't do this big song and dance of protesting and violence. He just did it in a very smooth transitional phase and got in the Soviet Union and dismantled it, and then just eventually the Soviet Union didn't exist, and that's all because of him. And he lived, a very healthy, happy life using that system and then changing it as he worked within it. And I feel like if you have a system that you don't like, you have to work within that system and change it to your benefit. And don't be too dramatic, don't be too excessive, and try to destroy everything so we can restart, because honestly, there's a lot of great things that have happened in this world through, like, capitalism, whatever that is, whatever people want it to be. So if you have a problem with it, don't think that you need to go out in the street and protest and occupy Wall Street, because honestly, that's not going to do anything. First of all, it's literally going to do zero. Or sign a petition to get rid of Trump or something. It's going to do absolutely nothing. All this shit that people try to do is literally like pointless, right? You have to do it in a way that's sort of through the system. No one really can notice what you're doing, but you're just there, and you're patient and you're diligent, and you're also focusing on your own happiness as well. You're not sacrificing yourself for this cause, because all that's going to happen is you're going to die, nothing's going to improve, and people might remember you, but ultimately that's not the goal here, is to be remembered. The goal here is to do something that's good in the world, in the very sort of vague term that is. Good is a very subjective term, but ultimately that's what it's about. You look at someone like Ben Carson, for instance, which I've talked to people about, and honestly a lot of people don't even know who he is. He's a person that's within the Trump administration who is working on helping the Chicago black community, and no one even really knows what he's doing there. No one knows anything about him, because he is one of those people who is just silently behind the scenes, and he's the one who's probably doing the most, if you want to say that's like, ooh, like Donald Trump is evil, right? He is actually within that group of people, right? And he has that power, so to speak, and he knows that it's limited, but he knows that he is at least doing something, right? He's not just sitting in the street complaining and protesting. He is actually in the White House, and he is doing whatever he can. Anyway, I'm going on a huge tangent here from when I started off, which was just tip culture, right? So anyway, I'm just gonna stop it right now. Hope you have a good morning, and I'll see you next time.